This meeting is being recorded.
Should I continue? Is my screen visible?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so great. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session on an introduction to Git and GitHub. It's a really powerful tool which helps you create, track, and collaborate in your development journey. So let's get started with it. First of all, hi from me. I'm Anjali Patle. Currently, I'm a final year computer science and engineering undergraduate at NIT Raipur. Previously, I have worked with Amazon as an SD intern, and I'm an upcoming SDE at Microsoft. I love programming, designing, and building websites, especially using React, and really excited to be a part of this journey where we'll learn how to code and collaborate using GitHub and Git. So coming to the first point of our session, what is Git? You must have heard often that it is a version control system. But what is a version control system? It sounds like a mix up of a lot of words. So let's first understand what is a version control system. Version control system, it is a system that records changes to a file or set of files over time so that you can switch to specific versions of your code base at any time. Let's look more into this. When we are building anything, it usually requires a lot of changes, one after the other. We make a lot of changes, we work with many files, we add things, we delete things. For example, if you're building a website and you made the theme of the website green and black, and you changed all the CSS files and all the related code, but after a while you decide that you don't really like that color, you don't really like that change. Now you would wish in that case that you could just go back to the previous code where there were no changes at all, the theme that was present earlier. In that case, what would you do? Would you go around changing and undoing every change that you made? This is where version control helps us a lot. It is almost like wishing to have kind of like a snapshot of the version of your code. Like in this case, the snapshot of the code before you made the changes to the theme of the website. That is your version. And this is the version control system, which allows us to move between these snapshots. So this was just a simple example, but in real life, version control system helps us a lot. So let us look at the need for the version control system. Coming to the first one, it helps you store your code. So you might crash your system, you might not have access to your system, and a lot of things that can happen, in which case you will not be able to access your code. In this case, it helps to have a copy of the actual source code on the cloud. It is stored somewhere outside your system, which you can access at any time, and you can sync that code from that source to your local machine. Kind of like how Gmail works. You don't have to log in, you don't have to store your emails on a particular device. You can just use any device and log in, and that all the email that was stored on the cloud, that will be synced up for you. In the similar way, the version control system can store your code. Coming to the collaboration, it allows different users to contribute to the same source code and share their code with each other. So there is this single central copy, and the changes that are done by each user, they are merged, they are integrated into this copy, and that makes it available for everyone. If I'm contributing to this code base with the help of my other teammates, whatever changes they make, I can see it on the central that source copy, and similarly my changes can be shared with others. The third point is track the changes and their authors. So this is an important thing, that Git lets you track the specific changes you have made, not just the files, but also which line, what addition or what insertion, what deletion, and it was made by whom. Everything is tracked in the version control system. So that comes really handy when you want to see where exactly the change was made. And finally, the very great feature, which is manage versions and rollbacks. So when we build things, code changes are very frequent. Track these changes and the different versions using Git and a version control system. And what happens if something goes wrong? You can just roll back to the last version that worked properly. This is a very powerful feature because version control systems maintain the history for your code repository, and you can revert or roll back to the previous state of the code whenever you want. Now we have understood what is version control system. So coming to the definition, what is Git? Git is a version control system where every contributor can make their own local copy of the code, make whatever changes they want in this local copy, and then sync these changes to the main repository, also known as the remote repository, which is the central repository that is shared with everyone. So they can sync their own changes and share it with everyone using the remote repository. The code in the remote repository is then available to other users. Coming to GitHub. Now, GitHub is a website that allows you to store your code on the cloud. Just like I gave you an example of Gmail, which allows you to store your emails on the cloud and access it anywhere. Just like that, GitHub is is a website which allows you to store your code, and it also provides the version control system for this code, which is powered by Git. These two things are different because Git is a version control tool, whereas GitHub is a service for projects that uses Git. So just like the email service, email itself is a service, but Gmail provides that service to you as a tool. In this way, Git is a tool and GitHub is a service which can help you use this tool by giving you a platform where you can store and share your files. Coming to the installation of our Git, so we will quickly look into how we can install Git, and just you can go to this link and download Git for your system. It has like Git for various clients, for Mac, for Linux, for Windows. You can go to this website and directly install it. It's a simple executable file that you can execute. And once the installation is complete, you can directly start using Git from your terminal. You can also install the graphic user interface clients. There are various clients such as Git for desktop, where you have a good graphical interface for working with Git. But for this session, we will be focusing on the terminal. And we will write all the commands and use Git using this terminal. You also need to sign up on the Git website. So I'll quickly just show you the website, what it looks like. So if I go to Git, this is like my account on GitHub. I already have an account, so this is what I can see. If you are a new user, you can sign up using your email and password, and you can register and create your own account. Since I already have the account, you can see the homepage is there, and this is my account. We also have the homepage of Git, and various repositories are also present here. Coming to our next slide. This is a little fun fact for everyone. GitHub is an amazing platform, and it has a lot of open source repositories. And you would be surprised to know that the whole source code of the Linux kernel is available on GitHub. So the author of the Linux kernel, he has uploaded the whole source code for GitHub on this particular repository. You can check it out using this link. And here you can see the whole code is there. So that is a great thing, because there are a lot of open source projects which are present at a great scale, which are being hosted by GitHub. Coming to the repositories. So what are repositories? It is simply a storage space where your code and files can be stored in the form of a directory. And like if I share my GitHub account, here you can see, if I go here, there are various repositories. And so these are just like directories where I have stored my code and the files related to my code. I think the screen is freezing a little. Okay. So these are my repositories. For example, if I go to a particular repository, see, this is called demo. It is a repository in my account, and here I have this code. I have this index.html file. So all my code will reside here. It is simply like a storage space. How you can create your own repository? This is the first step. So first of all is there is an option that you might have some code that you're working on your computer. You can turn this code, this directory where all your files are, into a Git repository using the command git init. Let's quickly do this. Here I have my folder. I have my, like I'll create a folder. Let's create a folder. I'll name it session. If I go inside this, okay, so I have created a fresh directory. Now I can simply go to my terminal and okay, I'm inside my directory. If I run the command git init, here you can see initialized empty git repository in the session. What this does is it creates a .git folder. Now this might not be visible for everyone because for example, in Linux, the hidden files are not shown that begins with dot. So you can do ls -a if you want to see that file. But basically this .git folder means that my git, this directory that I created freshly, it has been converted into a git repository. And I have these various files. We don't actually have to go into the depth of this because these are the files that Git uses to do all the tracking for you. So knowing that is enough for now. And running the git init has converted my directory into a Git repository. Okay, coming back to the other ways of creating repository, you can also clone an existing repository. Like for example, I have shown you this repository that was on my account. Suppose I don't have this code, that index.html, in my actual computer. What I can do is go here, use this link. This is the same link that here it's present. It's just .git. So you just use this link, just use the URL and use this command, git clone, and add that URL. So it will download this whole code into your local machine. An existing repository on GitHub will be downloaded in your local machine. We also have an option to fork a Git repository, which basically means that there is some Git, like this was on my own account, right? But if I have some other author who has some other person's account, they have some repository that the code I want to have myself, I can fork it using the button here. But we'll go into the depth of it later. For now, we will just create a fresh repository, and I have converted it into a Git repository. Coming to the main part, okay, how the changes are made in Git. So first of all, we will use a simple command which is called git status. If I do git status, it will show me the status of my Git repository. Now I will start making some changes. I'll go here and I will create a simple file. Let's call it demo.txt. Okay, great. I have made some changes. Now let us see what the git status shows us. Okay, it shows me that I have created a file. I'll explain all this, like what are the untracked files and how we go about tracking them. So, but this here right now, it is showing me that the untracked file is present. Under the untracked files, I can see that demo.txt that I created, it is present in red. So let us understand what this means. Now I created a file in my local computer, but right now no one in this world will know that I have created this file because I have just created it in my own computer. I have not shared it with anyone. I have not enabled tracking for it. So this is why it is showing me that it is an untracked file. I will go about and run some commands so that I can share it with others and track the history of this file as we go on making the changes. So first of all, let's see how this tracking works. Suppose you're working on your desk and you are working on your desk. You make and edit some files or papers. You're writing something or editing something on your desk. Then you have this envelope. You have this envelope on your desk, and whenever you want to work on something and you want to submit this particular paper, what you do is you add it to this envelope. And this envelope is a place where you have tracked these pages. Because if you know that if you have put your page in this envelope, it means that you may want to submit it later. So this is the envelope. And once you are done with the change, you take the paper from the envelope and then you go ahead and submit it to your teacher. So when you're ready, you just go to your teacher and submit this from this envelope to your teacher. Git works in a similar way. So see, my desk is actually what's called a working directory. When I added the file here, when I added the demo.txt and then I ran git status, it showed me that I have this file, but it has not been tracked yet. Because if you consider this example, it is still on my table. I have not added it to the envelope. So Git does not know if I want to submit it, if I want to track it. It's just one among the many pages that are present on my desk. So just like I can have many random pages on my desk, and until and unless I put my paper in the envelope, I won't know that, okay, I'm tracking this paper and I want to submit it to my teacher later. In this way, we have this untracked file here. Once I know that I have created this paper and I want to submit it, I will add it from my working directory to my staging area. This envelope is my staging area. So currently the file that I created, it is not being tracked and because it is not in the envelope. I will add this to the staging area using a command called git add, and I will write the file name demo.txt. You can also do git add dot. That simply will take all the files and it will add all of them to the staging area. Currently, I have just taken demo.txt. I have added it into the file. Now, if I run the git status command now, you can see changes to be committed. Now this file, it is in green because it is being tracked. It is saying that changes to be committed are present here. So committing is basically like submitting your files from the envelope to the teacher. After your change is done, you can commit it. Then anyone who sees the history of your repository will know about it by seeing the commit history. Because like the teacher would know when did you come to them for submitting the paper. In the similar way, when you have committed your file from the staging area to your local repository will keep the history of this commit and all the commits that you will do later. Now let's commit a file. So here I will run this command called git commit. Here is -m. M stands for message because I want to assign a message along with my commit so that later whenever the person who is seeing the history, when they view the history, they will understand, okay, what was this commit all about. I will just write I added demo.txt.
Ma'am, can you increase the size of the window for terminal? Some people are saying they are not able to see exactly what commands you are typing.
Okay, sure. Please just give me a minute. Is it better now? Or should I make it full screen?
Yes, ma'am. This is better.
Okay, great. So as I was saying, the commit message, I added the commit message, and now I have committed this file. You can ignore like this master and all this now. We will discuss it later. But you can see that my change has been submitted. I can see here one file change, 0 insertion, 0 deletion, because I just created a file. So okay, Git has tracked it for me. I submitted my file and now it has tracked that what changes was made by me. Great. Now, if I ask you, have we worked on any other file that is not in the envelope? Like, have we created anything that we have not staged? You would say no, because we only created one file, demo.txt, and that is already like in our envelope that we have already added it. And then we have also submitted it. So right now there is nothing. So Git status should show me that. If now I run Git status, you can see nothing to commit, working tree clean. Why? Because I created a file. It was untracked. So then I added it. In our example, I added it into the envelope. Then again, I ran git status. It shows me that the change is to be committed. That means it is in the envelope. We have not submitted it yet. Then I ran git commit, and then it was submitted to the envelope. Okay, great. And now when we run git status, there is nothing which was that we were working on which has not been committed or which was not submitted. So now if I make any changes to this particular file, let me do some changes to this file. let me add a line. If I add a line here and I'll save it. Now what should happen according to you? What did I do? I created some other changes. So you should be able to see this change because because my file is being tracked and Git should know about these changes. Again, I will run Git status and you can see changes not staged for commit. Under this, I have modified my demo.txt. In red, you can see it. So it is showing that it has not been staged for commit. I took it, if you see my example, I took it to my desk. I did some changes. It is not in the envelope yet. In the similar way, in my working directory, I have done some changes, but I have not staged it. I have not added it to the staging area. So I need to add this modification in my staging area before I want to commit it. So I will just do git add again. This time I'll do a git add dot so that you can know that this also works fine. I have run git add and okay. So now I will check the git status. Now it's showing me okay. It's it's present in the staging area. It's not showing me that changes are not staged for commit because I have already run git add. But now it shows me the changes to be committed has this change modified demo.txt file. So you can see now it is in green because now my modifications are in the staging area and I can say that, hey, these are my changes and I want to commit these changes. I will commit it again. I will just add a message, simple message, edited demo.txt. Okay. Let this command run. Okay, so you can see one file change and one insertion was made. Now I have made and committed two changes. First, what I did, I showed you, I created a file, I added it to the staging area, I committed it. And then again, I edited this file again, and I added it to staging area and committed it. So I was telling you that Git make sure to track these commits that I make. All the submissions, all the commits that you are making, Git knows about it. That is the whole point of tracking the history of the file. So how can we see these commits? We can see this using a command called git log. If I do git log here, I will be able to see my commit history once the command runs. Okay, here it is. So you can see this was my first commit message, right? I did demo.txt. Okay, this is one commit. This is another commit. Every commit has a particular ID associated with it so that we can uniquely identify that which change was there. So here I have the commit history present in front of me. Now this was the basic of how you can like coming to this, how you can create make changes in your working directory, add it to the staging area, and then commit it to your local repository. We use git add, we make the changes, we use git add, and then we use git commit when we are ready to save these changes to our local repository. Now suppose you want to undo your step. You want to remove this last commit, for example, this I edited it, but I don't want this edit to be there. I want to go back in the history. Git allows you, right? We discussed about rolling back to the previous versions. So Git allows me to undo these changes and go back in history. What you can use is, you can use the git reset command. This was your working directory, you added it, you added to the staging area, you used git commit, you submitted to the local repository. Now if I want to take the change back, if I want to go back in history, I can use git reset command. Here git reset, along with it a commit ID is required. What the commit ID means is, here is my commit history. I'll just increase a font a bit more. Okay, so here is the commit history. This was my first change, this was my second change. I don't want this edited commit to be here. I will just do git reset and I will use this commit ID of the commit where I want to go. I will choose the point in history where I want to go. I will use this. I will add the ID, and you can see now I can see unstaged changes after the reset. So what did this did what? I was here. I was here. I submitted it to the local repository. I used the reset command. So all the changes that I made, they were present, but now they are not submitted in the local repository. They are back in my unstaged area. I have used the command to undo the steps followed here. Because now, if I do git status, so now if you will do git status, you can see the changes not staged for commit. It is showing me that the changes that I made, that I added and that I committed, we have used the command to undo it, and now these are again in the unstaged phase. So just like that, you can undo the submission. If you have done some submission that you want to work again, like example, if I wrote some code, but I decided that I don't want to submit it, I want to edit it again. Either I can do another, I can edit it again and do another commit, but if I don't want to add another commit, I can just undo this commit and make the final change and then do the commit again. Now your changes are, as you can see, your changes are still there, but you have not staged them. I will show you the file. If you can see in the preview, this text is there. So the commit is there. Sorry, the changes are there, but the commit is not there. So this was how we use the command to undo the submission.
Ma'am, actually some students are feeling like we are going a little fast. So can you like once revisit what you have covered and tell like in layman language a bit more?
Okay, sure. So I think first we only discussed like what Git is, what GitHub is. Git is the version control system which allows you to track your history. Let's go back to this slide, just a little overview. So Git is a version control system, and here what happens is any contributor, they can make their local copy of the code, make changes to this copy, and Git allows them to share these changes with other users present all over the world. Git also helps them in tracking the version and the changes that were made, so that you can go back in history. You have the history of all the history of your code. You can just go back to whatever point you want, and the code changes will be present in that way. Coming to GitHub, GitHub is a website that allows you to store your code on the cloud, and it provides a version control system that is powered by Git. It is just a service for the code bases that uses GitHub for their version control system. Git is the actual tool, but GitHub is a service for them because they provide a cloud platform for storing this file. We briefly went over how to install Git. You can go to this website and directly download Git. And once the installation is complete, you can use the terminal for running the Git commands. Then we looked into this repository of Linux that is present in GitHub. And then we tried to understand what are repositories. So repository is simply a storage space where your code and files can be stored. Like I shared this repository in my GitHub. So here I have index.html file. My code files are present in the GitHub. And all the files are related to a particular code. It is like a folder where all the files are present. It is just a storage space, just like a folder on the GitHub website. This is my repository. Then we looked over how to create this repository. Okay, I'm developing a website. I have various code. I have various files like HTML files, CSS files, or you are just storing the text files, for example. But how will you convert this folder into a Git repository where we can deploy our version control, where we can track the history, where we can have an option to share it with other people, where we can have the option to take this code from my local computer and uh, share all the changes that I made in this code to the other developers, and contribute my code changes to the main source code. This is where we want to create a Git repository. Once we have converted a normal directory into a Git repository, I can use all the functionalities that are available by Git. We did this by simply creating a normal directory. We just created this session folder, and then we ran this command git init, and my simple normal folder that got converted into a Git repository, because now whatever changes I make, I will have the option to share it. I will also have the option to track the history for this. So this will turn an existing directory into a Git repository. Cloning and forking, this is something that we will go into later. But for now, it is important to understand that how Git works is, I have this local repository. This is my local machine. It has the code, and I have a main repository which is stored on GitHub. This main remote repository, because this is not in my local machine, this is on the website, this is on the cloud, this is available to everyone. So how will I share the changes made in my local repository with everyone? I will make changes in my local repository and sync it with my remote repository. Whatever changes I made here in my local repository, I will use some commands and make these changes available in the remote repository, so that anyone else who looks into the remote repository will be able to see my changes. How we do that? By submitting our changes that we have done to this remote repository. For submitting these changes, there are various commands that we discussed after that. If anyone has any doubt in this, please let me know.
Just a small announcement as well here, as we got a pause. So we are having a Hotstar account giveaway. So Hotstar subscription giveaway. So yeah, we will be dropping in the questions within some time. So do stay tuned for that. And also, if anyone has questions, feel free to ask now.
Okay.
Check the chat.
I think yeah, sorry, I was just sharing my screen, so I did not get a chance to look into the chat. I think some of the people, they're asking about the speed. I'm sorry about that. I'll try to go slower, and if you have any doubt, please feel free to like interrupt me. It's not a problem. And I think somebody is asking about how to hide and unhide a particular folder. If you're asking about Git, I can cover it later once we have discussed more about the structure. And in general, if you're asking, I think that is beyond the scope of this session. So let's try to look into that. What is the basic difference between remote server and cloud? What did you say about sync? Are you? I'm not like able to understand. Please, Ujjwal, can you please elaborate more? I don't think I mentioned anything about sync. I think you might have misheard it, so I'll explain it again if you can. So, an remote server and cloud usually refers to the storage space. It also has the processing units in it. You can say like a cloud is a central thing that is hosted on the internet. It is like a central machine, just like you have your laptop. So cloud will have cloud is a something that is hosted on the internet, and in that we can have a remote server inside the cloud. For Git only, for Git I will come to it in a bit. We can have a dot like git ignore file. This is basically a file in which if I write the file name, you would be able to ignore this file. Git will not track these files even if I have it in my local repository. if I create a .git file, sorry, if I create a git ignore file and I will add the name of this file inside the git ignore file, Git will not track it, Git will simply ignore it. But I'll be able to explain it later when we have covered another thing. Git uses the structure or fabrication of blockchain. Okay, yeah, it is distributed. It is not decentralized. It is a distributed version control system. So how that works is, because as I was saying, it's not like I have my local repository also. And then we have one remote repository. So every contributor, for example, if Aman and I, we are both working on a project. So we have this repository on GitHub. This is the main repository from where we will see the changes made by each other. But simultaneously, we have a copy of this in our own systems also, because that is where we will do the edits. Once the edits have been done, what we will do is make our changes available and save them in the remote repository. So it is a distributed version control system, because the copy is distributed on each developer's own computer, and then they have a single remote copy from where remote repository from where they can refer and share the code with each other. If someone edited your code in repository, will it get updated, or the owner had to commit first, then the main code changes? Yeah, we will cover this soon, how the changes are made and how if we want to incorporate these changes, how we will do it. We will cover it soon. I think first we should just look again on the changes, how changes are made. So as I was saying, there is a particular repository on GitHub. This is the remote repository, which is hosted by GitHub. It is on the cloud of the GitHub. This is from where I can see the changes made by Aman. This is and where I will save my changes when I'm done with making changes in my local machine. So this is my local repository that I created by initializing it using the git init command. Whatever changes I made here, once I am done with those, then I will send these changes to the remote repository so that Aman can also see it. Coming to how to make changes in this local repository, that also follows a particular workflow. So as I gave you an example of this classroom scenario where you're working on a paper or file on your desk, this is, and then you keep this paper or file in the envelope, because amongst the random and multiple pages on your desk, only some pages are important that you want to submit, that you want to be tracked. This is why you will keep them in the envelope. Then you will finally submit it to the teacher when you're ready to let them know, okay, I have made this change, please keep it. So this is how Git works. We have this work, and this is all in your local repository only. Right now, we are not using GitHub. We are not saving our changes to GitHub. This is how I'm making my changes in the local repository only. This folder that I have created. First, I will make, first I have my working directory. I will make some changes there. And these changes, I want Git to know that, okay, I have made these changes, but make sure that you keep tracking these changes. So for that, I will add it to the staging area. I have to use git add command on my and add the particular files into my staging area, because whatever is present in the staging area, that will only be saved in the history of my local repository. History is nothing but a line of commits. When I make a commit, I create a history for my project. So we use commits to create the history, and local repository saves this commit history to know the changes that we have made all this while. So that is why after making a lot of changes, of whatever change you want to do, we create a commit to let Git know, okay, I have made this change. Please remember this point in history where I had made this change. This is what happens in our local repository. Once it is all this is done, we can push all the changes to the remote repository. So all my history, all my changes, as well as the history of the commits that I was making, that was being saved by the local repository, everything will be pushed to the remote repository from where Aman can see it. So I hope that this is clear. coming to the next slide, if this is clear, then we can like the different stages in which my history of changes is saved is, first I make the change, I add it in my staging area to let Git know that okay, I will be committing the changes made here. These will be the files that you will need to make sure to track in history. So that I do by adding it to the staging area. Then after I'm done with my changes, I simply commit it. So to let Git know that, okay, please remember this point in history where I made this commit, I made this change along with this message. So what we did in the example was we created a file and then we committed it. So Git knew, if I can show you my logs, see, added demo.txt. At this point of history, one commit was made. So Git knew that at this point of history, one file was added. Similarly, when I added the text in that file, I did again added it to the staging area and then I did the commit. This commit will let Git know, okay, the editing was being done, and this is also a point in history that I want to make sure that this history has been saved. Why? Because when later I want to go and understand how these changes were made, I will be able to see my commit history. I will be able to see, okay, first it was added, then it was edited. And this is the benefit of using the commit history, using Git for tracking this history. I hope this point is clear, like how the history is being stored. And coming to undoing these changes. So sometimes what happens is, because with each commit, it is being saved in the history. For example, if I wanted to write hello, if I made a spelling mistake here and I did not see and I committed it, what I can do is edit it again and make another commit. But this will lead to an additional commit, and sometimes we want to avoid that. We just want to undo the previous commit so that that point is not stored, and I can like fix my changes and finally make that commit so that the real commit that I wanted to be available is stored. So how do we do that? We use a git reset command. Git reset commands take a commit ID, takes a commit ID along with it. So commit ID is basically, as I was saying, each commit is a point in history. So each to identify each point uniquely, we have a unique commit ID. When we do, if I want to undo this commit, what I can do is just before this point, whatever place in history we were at, this identifies that place. I will just say git reset and add this there. See, git reset and this commit ID is there because I want to go back to this place, and whatever was done after that, history that was saved, I don't want that history to be saved. My changes are still there, but Git is not saving it as a point in history. Now, when I ran this command of git reset and I provided this ID, you can see if I do the git log. Okay, let me just do a git log. You can see only this commit is there, added demo.txt, edited, that this point is not there. Git has removed it from the history because I got another chance to do whatever change I want to do, and then commit this file again because it came back from the saved history position to the working directory. It got unstaged also, and it just became some change that I have not yet submitted to Git. So if I run git status now, you can see I can the changes are not staged for commit, and my file that was there, the change I added hello here. Hello is there. The change that I made in this this particular commit, that is there, but it is no more being saved by Git. So I have got another chance to change it if I want to change it, and then again ask Git to save it. So how will we save it? First, we will do git add. So now if I do git status, I can see, okay, this is ready to be committed. Git add puts it to the staging area. Staging area just is a collection of all the files that you want to be saved when we do that you want to commit. Committing means just saving a point in history. So staging area is nothing but just a collection of files, and like the area where all the files you have, if you have added a file here, and if when you made the commit, this file will also be a part of the history. This change, whatever change was made in this file, will be a part of the history that was saved in the commit. I hope that is clear. So here you can see I use git reset to undo this, and then I again did git add. So again it is in the staging area, but it is yet to be committed. So changes to be committed are this. Now I can also undo this from the staging area if I want to go back to this. For example, if I added some file that I don't want to commit, by mistake I have added it, I can use another command called git restore -- staged and use the file name that I don't want to be in my staging area to be to remove it from the staging area and move it to an unstaged phase. For example, if I do, and if I do demo.txt, just a minute, I think I made a, okay, sorry, I missed a space here. Okay, you can see unstaged changes after reset. So what it did was simply removed it from the staging area because I don't want this file to be committed when I finally do my commit. This was about just how in the local repository itself, how things move from the working directory to the staging area, and when all the files in the staging areas are committed when we make a commit, and how can we undo it if we want. So I hope this was clear, because this all happened in my local repository, and now we will go on to see how to connect your local repository with GitHub. This all happened in the repository that I created in my local machine. But how will Aman know that I did this? How will Aman know that what was the history of my commits? If I do git log here, I have one commit here. How will Aman know that I made this commit? He will know when I connect this local repository with the main repository which is present in GitHub, known as a remote repository, to which Aman has access as well. And then he can see the changes and the history of changes made by me. So for connecting this, what we use is git remote add origin command. This let's break this down. First of all, remote stands for like we are working with remote repositories here. We are working with URLs. It is no longer in our local, like it is, we are working with something that is not on a local machine. So we use this word. Add is simply adding this. Origin means this is like the name of the repository. It is like an alias. Like if this remote repository exists on GitHub, my local repository will know it as origin. If I ask my local repository, who is your origin? It will say my origin is the repository that you have added using this command. This just refers to the remote repository for a particular local repository. Origin is the name for it. And URL stands for the remote repository's URL. Okay, so now we will like add the local repository, like we'll connect the local repository to GitHub. This was so let me know if you have any doubts until here. If related to something, other doubts I can address after the session, like related to what we have discussed of how to make changes. If not, then we can just try
We have
my
some
local
questions in
repository
the
that.
chat. Just a second, we
Okay,
have some questions in the chat.
I have saved a file in staging area. Can I undo it? Yeah, sure. You can undo it. That is what we were discussing, like in the previous slide. If there is my working directory, I have made some changes. I added it to the staging file. For example, I want to commit my demo file, but I have created some other file here, and by mistake, I have added it to the staging area. And when I save the changes made in the demo file in my commit history, I don't want it to have the another file which was unwanted. In that case only, from the staging area, we want to remove this file. We can use this git restore. I think I have even used this here. We can use it to unstage it. So that is like if you want to remove it from the area. Sometimes git push origin master don't know, therefore I use git push origin master force. Okay, I think we will be covering push later, then we will discuss it. For now, like let's focus on the local repository and like how the changes were made in that area, and moving on to connecting your local repository to GitHub. Are there any more doubts? Okay, can I go ahead? I will just go ahead and create my remote repository now. This is my GitHub. Here I will create a new repository simply by going here. Let's name it session. This is a public repository. Simply, I will not look into these options right now. I will create a simple repository. Here you can see this is the URL. Like this is basically refers to the URL of this remote repository because this is on GitHub. This is hosted by GitHub. I don't have it. Just like our accounts on Facebook or anything like that. Just like we don't it is being hosted by some remote cloud. In the similar way, this is on GitHub, this repository. Now we will use this URL to connect with it with our local repository that I was making changes on. So for this, we will use the command. Okay, right, this command git remote add origin, and we will do use the URL. So let me just use this command. Remote just means that we are working with something that is not in our local machine. Git remote add origin means the remote repository. My local repository will know this remote repository as the name origin. So I have added an origin, and this is the URL for it. I will run this command, and now you can see this command is completed. So now our local repository is connected to the remote repository on the GitHub. Now I'm whatever changes I made here, like I added this demo, I edited it. I want to share it with the remote repository, because now if I share the link of this with Aman, he should be able to see the file that I had created. For this, for what I will do, first of all, I'll see all my files are committed or not. For that, I'll see git status. You can see that I had made some changes and it is not present. It is not committed. So first I want to, because I want the change. The change was that I added hello here. I want this hello to be available on the remote repository. So for that, I will simply add it. I will commit it. We have to do this again because when I was showing you the undo, the commands for the undo action, this all got removed. So that is why we are doing it again. But it is simply the simple thing, adding it, committing it. So I will say edited, committed it. Now what I will do is use git push origin. Origin means origin is the remote repository. So I'm telling my local repository, push these changes using the git push command to the origin and master. Master is like the branch. Here you can see master, that we will discuss in a bit. For now, you can ignore it. But I'm just this command means that I'm pushing it to the origin and the branch master of the origin. If I run the git push command, okay, it has been changed. Like you can see here, one file change, one insertion was made. Okay, so this now should be available, that I have used git push, so this should be available. Let me just look at the Just a minute. I think I made a copying mistake somewhere. I'll quickly run this command. Okay, sorry, I have not. This command is not completed. Let this command complete, and then I will be able to see this in the remote repository. My bad. So this will take a bit of time because of my internet connectivity. But once this push has been done, you would be able to see it on the remote repository. Till then, I think we can discuss the next slide, which is git push and git pull. Like we just use the git push command, right? What git push does is whatever changes you have made in your local repository, not just the code changes, but further we will also make some changes in the commits and things like that. Whatever you do, if you want the remote repository to know about it, you just have to use the git push command. And you have to use some other words depending on, like here we use origin master. Depending on it, these words change, like what you want to push. But git push basically means pushing your changes from your local repository to the one hosted on GitHub, so that other people who are looking into this, they know what happened. They can see your changes. And once this git push command is completed, I'll also let you know about git pull. Okay, here you can see it was done. Now I will show you, like this should be available on my remote repository. If I reload it, here it is. This is my master branch. Okay, and here I have demo.txt. Great, I have this hello that I created here. Earlier this repository was empty, but once I pushed it, I can see my changes here. In fact, if I go to the history here, you can see I have both my commits here, edit demo and edited demo. Great. So this is how we are pushing our changes, pushing the history, whatever history we saved in our local repository, we are pushing it in the remote repository to let others who access this using GitHub know that what was my history. Okay, great. So this was all about creating making changes, creating files, and committing it, and then saving these commits, and then pushing it to the remote repository. Coming to the git pull, if like git pull is very similar to it is like just the reverse of git push. If I do some changes in my local that are not present in the remote, I can do git push. Similarly, if the remote repository was updated and that change is not present in my local yet, for example, if suppose Aman goes here, I will do this using GitHub only, just for simplicity. For example, if there is some other developer who added some command here, I have added some line here, I have added this committing changes. What happened was, if I go to the history, you can see there is another updated demo.txt, because what I added, it is being shown here. But how will my remote repository, how will my local repository know about it? It was done on GitHub. Maybe it can be done by someone else, and they can on their local, and they can push it to GitHub, but my machine will not know about it. How will it get these changes from the remote? It will use git pull. Similarly, in a similar way, if I do it, you can see one file change, and you can see the changes here, and I have done git pull. And if I show you my file now, you can see I have the new line here. So great, this way we can push our changes to the remote, and we can also get the changes from remote in our local. In this way, we keep the local and the remote in sync with each other. Now let's come to another fun fact, just a small thing. You must have heard about it. Like if you, there is a particular option in GitHub. If I show you my profile, right now nothing is being shown, but if I create a repository with my own name, like the username, this is a special repository. You can see in the readme.md file will appear on my public profile, whatever I do in this. So MD just stands for markdown. It is just a way of decorating text, you can say, and formatting and decorating text. Like I have written some code in my data.md, and what it does is creates this page. Now if I um, let's edit it, and if I name it readme.md, see, you can see it will show me that it is a special repository, and the whatever like this was the code, markdown code that was written by me, and this markdown code gets converted into a preview, and when I will commit the change, I should be able to see it on my, you can see here, this shows on my profile. So this is just like a quick fun fact about GitHub. You can try using this. You can build beautiful portfolios, a kind of portfolio like this. Okay, great. Coming to the next thing. The next feature is the really important one, because branches in GitHub. Branches are very important for collaboration. We will look into how branches work by going to the next slide. Before that, if there is anything that I should know about, please let me know. I think everything is fine, so we can continue. So for branches are basically like when we make commits, the commits are added on top of one another. If I make one commit, it is a point in history. On top of that, I make some other change. It is also recorded. On top of that, some other change. In this way, they are made on top of one another. So this is like a path in which I'm making changes, a line of changes. And this default branch, this is called a branch, and the default branch, earlier it was master, nowadays it's main, but you can use any name for it. We will use master because my like client is a little old, so I'm using master. Nowadays it's main, but the name is not important. You just have to know that the default line of commits, the default branch is the master branch. And for example, if I'm building a website and the code of my like I am creating some changes in the master branch, when will I require another branch? If I want, if some other developer wants to parallelly work on it, we will see this more in action. So the default branch, actually what happens in the GitHub workflow is this particular branch is used for deployment. This means that like if I'm building a website, the code from my main branch or my master branch, it will be the one that is hosted, and the code from it will be the source code of my website if we deploy it my website. So now if I want to add a feature, I don't want to change it right here itself, right? Because if the suppose the change is not good, or if the change if the change I want to remove the change later, something like that, I want a parallel path of development where I can independently use the code that was there and create my feature. So if this was my master branch, I can create another branch from here. And in this branch, I will, this will be a new path for me. I will add my commits here. So when we create a new branch, all the commits from the source branch are also present. Like if I go in the feature branch, all the commits that were made earlier, that will also be available for me, but I will have a place to make my own code changes, which does not affect the master branch for now. Master branch can go on and have its own commits. It is all the commits or anything that I will be making in my new branch, that will not disturb the master branch for now. When I am done with my commits and my changes, then I will ask the master branch that, hey, you can merge it. If I have made my commit, I can work on the feature branch, and then I can ask the master branch that, okay, you can take my commits and you can have it in your own. The changes, code changes that I made in my feature branch, you can have it now. So what I did was made these commits without affecting the master branch until I was ready. And when I was ready, I merged my changes into this. This is very powerful because now after I have merged it, my master branch will have all the commits that were present earlier, the one that I developed in parallel, and the one that were being made in master anyway. So branches are like a way to parallelly develop and create code, and then we can merge this code when required. So let's see how we can create branches. Here are some useful commands for that. First of all, the git branch command, it just shows all the branches. So if I go here, you can see here, I can see master because only one, I have not created any other branch for now. So I can see the list contains a master branch. Now another one is git branch and the branch name. What this does is creates a new branch. For example, I want to develop a new feature. I will do git branch feature. This will create a branch called feature. If I show you, if I use the git branch command and show you the list of branches you can see that there are two branches, feature and master, and currently the asterisk is here because I'm in my master branch. Now how will I shift to this branch? Like if I was here, I'm still here, the new branch has been created, I'm still here. How will I go into this branch? For that we use git checkout and branch name. It just switches to a particular branch. If I do git checkout and I do feature, you can see it has switched to branch feature. Okay. Now, now if you want, if you do git branch, you can again see asterisk has moved because now I am on my feature branch. And now if I do git log, let me see the history of commits using the command git log. You can see I have all the commits that were earlier present on my master branch. So I have all the changes that were present before this branch was created, and now I have my own branch to make the changes. Now let's make some changes in this new branch. For example, if I go here, right now I'm in my feature branch. Okay, so I will edit this. I will add the line, this is a new feature. Okay, I'll save it. Okay, great. Now let's commit it. Like we have discussed earlier, we have to add it, we have to commit it so that the changes that we have done, it is saved in history. So I will do git add demo.txt. I will do git commit -m added a feature. Let's write that. Okay, great. Now if I do git log, you can see I have these three changes that were present earlier also. These were the changes that I had before also. But this new change added a feature. This has been made in my new branch. But how will Git know about it? Like GitHub know about it. If I go to my repository, the remote repository, you will be able to see that it does not know that I have created this branch because I have been doing it in my local. It only shows me one branch. How will it know that I have created another branch and made a commit there? This is where we will do git push that we discussed about. Git push origin. Origin refers to the origin branch that we, origin repository that we have, the remote one. And we will do feature. Feature is my new branch. Earlier we did git push origin master because we were on master branch. Now we will do git push origin feature. Once this command runs, okay. Now if I, you can see git feature had recent changes. If I go to this feature, like two branches are there. If I go to feature, I can see that I have this particular line that I added in my feature branch in my local. It is here, and if I check the history also, previous history is there, and the additional commit that I made in this particular branch, that is also there. So right now our commits are like this. We had some commits on the master branch, and we created a feature branch from it. And then we added some commits on the feature branch. Now, if I go to my master branch again, like if I can show you the code on my master branch, you will be able to see it does not have that feature here. Why? Because this is the parallel, like this were my earlier commits. This is the new commit that I made. Master does not know about it yet because it was done on a separate branch. Now, how to get this feature, that commit that I made on my master branch? This is done using the git merge commands. Git merge command is a command which will integrate the changes which I made in the particular branch to the branch that I'm currently in. How this works, I will show you. So right now we are clear about the history, right? If I go into my master and see the history, there are only 3 commits. But if I go to feature and I see the history, there is this additional commit. I want this commit and the changes made in this commit in my master branch. For that, what I will do is, first I will go into my master branch by using git checkout master, switch to branch master. We have discussed these commands earlier. And now that I'm in master branch, what I will do is git merge feature. Feature is just my branch name. I'm in my master and I want I'm in my master and I want this to be merged. So for this, I'm using the git merge command. If I run it, once this command runs, the additional change that I made in my feature branch, that will be present in my master branch. Okay, I will do the git log for this. You can see my first 3 commits: added, edited, updated, and this now it also has the added a feature commit. So my additional commit from the feature branch, that has been merged by using git merge feature. Whatever changes were made in the feature that was not present in my master branch, now they are here after we have merged it. But till now I have used this command in my local machine. Git does not know that I have merged a feature into my master, because if I go here and if I show you the history, this is for the feature branch only, like for the master branch, if I show you the history, it still does not have that 4th commit. How we will do this? For this, we will do push the merging that we have done on our local to our origin master. Okay, you can see this is completed. Now if I reload it, you can see here my added a feature commit is here, and this way I merged it in my local, pushed it to GitHub. Now GitHub also know that feature has been merged into the master, and in this way in my master branch I have this new commit that was made in the feature branch. Why? Because we made the commit in feature branch and then we merged it in the master, and then we pushed it also to let GitHub know that okay, master now has this update from the feature branch. I hope that this is clear, like working with branches and then how the change is merged, because then we can go to the next big thing, which is the pull request. Now consider a scenario where I'm working on this repository as a team. So everyone in my team uses the code from the master branch, and suppose I was assigned the task to create a new feature. So I will go to my feature branch, I will make changes, I will create the feature that I was assigned, and now I'm ready to share it, like okay, in my feature branch I have made the code, now I want everyone to have this code on the master branch, I'm ready to merge it. because the task has been completed. But don't I need to discuss it with my teammates? It would be better, right, if they can first see the code changes that I have made, have a discussion on it, point out if any changes are required, and then if everything seems good, then we can merge my changes made in the feature branch to the main branch. So how do we do it? Of course, they can just, what they can do is just in their repository, they can switch to the feature branch that was created by me, and there they can see the code changes I have made there. Like, right, we've switched branches using git checkout. Similarly, they can do git checkout feature, and they will be able to access all the code and commits that I had made. But there is a more elegant way to do it, because we can also have a discussion on it in this way, and that way is known as a pull request. It is just a place to compare and discuss the changes made in a branch with the help of reviews, comments, etc. So this is what the workflow looks like. We create a new branch from the master branch. We make some commits. We raise a pull request. People can add reviews and once do discussions, and once they are ready, they can merge this into a master branch. This is the same thing that we were doing earlier. Only extra thing here is that the pull request created will give us a place where we can add comments, where we can discuss, where we can have the comparison available of the code changes in the GitHub itself. So I hope that the PR thing is clear for everyone. So let's try to create a PR then. Coming back to our feature branch, I will come to my feature branch. Okay, switch back to feature. I will add one more line here. Let's do some changes. For example, I was assigned the task that I have to write. This is a PR feature. Okay, I was assigned this task. I created this. Now I will quickly do the follow the steps that we were doing earlier. Sorry. Yeah. Add it, commit it. My commit message will be added feature for PR. Okay. And I will also push it. I will let the feature branch on the remote know that I have made these changes. For this, I will do git push origin feature. Okay, I have done that. Now let's go to GitHub. Let's go to my repository and let's see. Here it shows that feature branch is there. If we go to compare it, it has some recent pushes, and it allows me to do a compare and pull request. Why? Because here you can see feature branch has this additional commit. It has 5 commits, and my master branch, this is the default branch, it only has 4 commits. So GitHub knows that I have made some additional commit in this branch. So it allows me to compare and create a pull request. This opens a space to create a pull request. Here, the base branch. Here, base branch is the one where we want the merging to happen, and compare is the branch in which has the additional changes that we want to merge in the base. If I go down here, you can see that it shows that this commit. I added this commit, right? Added feature for PR. This commit was not available in the master branch. It is only available in my feature branch. It shows me that there is one commit. There is this change. And for this, you can create a PR and let the people know that, okay, my feature branch has this additional thing that the master branch does not have. Do you want to merge these changes? For that, I have this option to create a pull request. Now, we will create the PR. I'll just add a dummy description and I'll click on create PR. All right, great. We can see one pull request has been created. We can see the commits. One commit was made here. We can see the files that were changes. So awesome. We just created our first PR. Here you can see why it is more elegant, because here you have the option, like I can assign reviewers, people who can come check my code if they think that it is correct. I can have people, I have the place for conversation where I can leave a comment. I can just comment here, and all this will be visible so that people will know that what changes were there and what related comments were being made. See, I made this change, I committed this. So this is, and the history of it is all here. So this is a good way for the discussion, the workflow that we wanted to follow. I created my branch, I created the changes, I raised a PR. People can now ask me to make changes. I can add additional commits here if I want to change anything and push it again so that new code changes are available. And once they are satisfied, we can merge the pull request. Let's merge it. I'm confirming the merge. You can see that pull request successfully merged and closed. Now, because we have all the changes from the feature branch in our master branch, because we just merged it, right? It is showing us that you can safely delete the feature branch because all the changes that were in the feature branch, they have been successfully merged into the master branch. And now if I go into the master branch, you can see it has the changes that were made in the PR. Great. So this is how merging a PR happens. So one thing to note here is this merging, this raising of the PR and then merging. Earlier, what we used the terminal, and once the merge was completed, then I pushed the changes to let GitHub know that okay, I have merged it. Here, just the opposite happened. I merged everything on GitHub, so my local repository right now it does not know about it. That I have taken the changes from the feature branch and merged it into my master branch. So now, if I want to work on the master branch in my local, what I should do first is first do a git pull origin master so that the changes like the new change which was done after the merge request, that is also available in my local. This is just how push and pull works. Wherever we do change, the local should know about it and the remote should also know about it. So this is how we keep them in sync. PRs are amazing, especially when we want to contribute to open source projects. And just imagine, like I showed you the Linux repository, they can't just let anyone edit their code, right? This was, I think, one of the doubts as well. Like you cannot ask anyone to edit it and just merge it into your code without your permission. This is why we have the option of forking and cloning a repository. Remember earlier how we discussed that like we can create repos. Forking is also an option to create repo, but forking is done on GitHub. Like if I show you the Linux repository, you can see here, fork option is there. When is forking used? Forking is used when I want to create a copy of someone else's repository on my own GitHub account. This is someone else's account. This is their repository. If I do fork, what this will do is create a repository on my own account. Now this is Anjali Patle /Linux. This was forked from the actual one, but this is my copy. I can do whatever I want with this because this will not affect the actual repository. This is how open source projects usually work, because without their permission, we don't want to change it. Whatever experimentation changes I want to do, I will do it in my own copy. Now it is present in my account, and now I can clone this repository. Like it is present in GitHub, but it is not present in my local machine, right? If I go here, only session is there. When we created session in our local, we created a remote repository for it. Just like that, here we have the remote repository, but we don't have it in my local. So how will I edit it? So what I will do is I will clone this repository. Here's where cloning comes into picture. First, you fork the repository and then clone it. Cloning just means downloading the fork repository to your local. It will download the repository, and this is similar to having a directory. Like we have a directory here session, we turned it into a Git repository, and then like you remember we added the origin, Git add origin to link it to the remote one. In the similar way, we are just doing the reverse. We have something on our GitHub that I don't have on my local, and for this I want to download it in my local. So what git clone will do, you might you also have an option to directly download the code, but cloning what enables us to have the code as well as the all the history of the commits that were made, everything will be cloned into my local machine. And after this is cloned, what we do is we add the upstream, setting upstream for this cloned repository. If you remember, we added origin to our repository earlier. Like the remote repository, I added the origin and I provided the URL of my remote repository, which was, why did we do it? So that we can link both. In similar way, here, origin was the remote repository's URL for my local repository. And in similar way, upstream is it refers to the original repository from where we have forked. Like if I clone the branch, clone the repository, Anjali Patle / Linux will be my origin, but my upstream will refer to this actual one. Why am I linking this actual repository with my local? Why? Because once I make the changes, I will want to contribute it to the actual repository, right? In that case also upstream, and if I want to pull the changes that were made here into my local repository, that also I can do using the upstream. So just like how we use origin to refer to our remote, upstream is used to refer to someone else's repository from where we have forked. And so now this is how we add the upstream: git remote, add upstream, and the original repo URL, we use it. And just like my changes does not affect the repository on their account, like whatever change I do here, whatever change I do in my local and push here, it will not affect the actual repository of Linux. That was the whole point of forking the repository. In the same way, whatever change they do, I will not be aware of it. I will not have those changes until and unless I pull the changes from this upstream. So it is in a similar way. And now what if I want to share my changes with them? I want them to see the commits that I have made, and I want to merge, like whatever commits I make, this will be available in my forked repository, and I want this to be present in the actual repository of Linux. Now, how can we do it? Just like the way we merged the changes of two branches, changes from this repository can also be merged into this original repository by the use of pull requests. Just like we made a parallel change in some new branch and then created a pull request to merge it into the master branch, we can make changes in our parallel repository, which is just a fork repository, and create a PR to merge it into the original repo. The steps are same as well. Just instead of creating a PR by comparing the two branches, here we compare the two repositories. Once I have made the changes and pushed it to my remote, when I will go here, it will show me something like this. And when I open, like comparing the changes, and here you can see the comparison. Like I have taken an example of Algo Phantoms Algo tree. This is the original repository, and this is my forked repository, Anjali Patle / Algo tree. So this will be the base where we want to merge the changes. That will be the original repository, and whatever branch of this original repository we want our changes to be present in, and we will compare it with our forked repository and the branch where we made the change. So this happens similarly to how we did it with the branches. And for the interest of time, I'm not going to illustrate like creating a PR from a forked branch to a a forked repository to the original repository, but it is pretty much the same. After you make your changes and push it, you will be able to see compare changes and open pull request option here. So this was the basic overview of tracking your changes and collaborating. Now coming to the last item of the agenda, hosting your static websites on GitHub. This is a really fun thing which GitHubs provide. So you can host your static websites on GitHub using a feature called GitHub Pages. The content of your web repository is used for hosting the website, and this content can include like HTML files, CSS files, or even the markdown file that I was telling you about, right? Which helped me create my portfolio here. Kind of like markdown files can also be hosted. So let's host a website. I will create a new repository. I will name it hosting. Okay, so instead of like cloning it, I'll just create a new file directly from GitHub just to show you how it is done. So I will create a HTML website. For that, I'm creating index.html page. Let's just add this tag. This is being hosted. Okay. Why index.html? Because when we create HTML websites, GitHub looks for a default main page from where it will start the hosting, and that is called index.html in it. You don't have to worry about it much if you are not familiar with web development. But when we use, just know that when we are creating HTML websites, index.html is the default page which will be hosted by GitHub. Let's commit it. Okay, great. I have the code here. Now I will go to settings. I will go to pages. And you can see GitHub pages is currently disabled. So I will select a source. Source will be my main because the change that I made was in the main branch. So I have selected the branch. The code, whatever is present, like we were discussing earlier, right? The sites are hosted from the master branch. In this way, the GitHub page website is now being hosted from the main branch. I will save this. Now it is ready to be published. I will go to this link. This link is simply my like the username anjalipatli.github.io, and then this is the directory name. So this will take a few minutes to process, and it is being it is shown it is ready. Like once it gets completed, we can keep reloading it and it will show up. It will just take a few minutes to set up. So while we're waiting for this, like this was the last item of the agenda, and now you're all set to start collaborating with GitHub. One advice, personal advice would be that once you know the basic workflow for GitHub, everything else is just about knowing the structure of your commits tree, like where you're creating the branches, where you're adding the commits. You should know that about your project, and you should know the relevant commands, which you can always Google, right? And that is how you can work with GitHub. You cannot learn everything about it, but definitely once you start practicing with it, you will go you'll become really hands-on with it, and it will be a great tool which will help you to collaborate with other developers and even start your open source journey. So okay, we can see it here. This is being hosted. Whatever code was there, I can see it being hosted on this particular URL. That's great. This is how I hosted a static website here. So that was the last item of the agenda, and this was the introduction to Git and GitHub. I hope you learned something useful here, and you'll start your journey with GitHub with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjali, for being here as a speaker for today's introduction to GitHub workshop. And we hope that all our participants really enjoyed the workshop. Please stay. We will be circulating the attendance form so that we can give you all the certificates. And also just wait for the questions for the Hotstar subscription giveaway. So yeah, just stay tuned. And thank you, Anjali, once again for being here.
We can take the doubts on GitHub, right?
Yeah. If anyone have any doubts, you can ask.
I think there are some doubts in the chat.
Yeah, but the frequency is quite high. So, okay, what is push origin master double dash force command? And one more question, ma'am, what option we have that is add file in GitHub website so that we can make commands using with tool different. Okay, I mean, not clear with the question what do you actually want to ask, but can you elaborate it? No, I mean, you can't make pages through GitHub, but yeah, you can make a website and then you can host it on GitHub.
Vedansh is asking why sometimes force command is used to push, not just git push or gin master.
Sometimes what happens actually, like there is like a lot of mix up in the master branch. So at those times, the best thing we can do is force thing. Like what do you do actually when you have a very your rooms badly arranged? You just force in things into bags and all just to make it look good. So that's the way, the easiest way to explain it. I think so.
Yeah, is my voice audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, man. Now you're audible.
So see, like what we did, right? I made some changes in my local, and then I made the changes in the GitHub, and then I had to do a git pull so that the changes in the remote repository, my local knew about those changes. So the history of the remote repository, my local repository was up to date with that history. Now what happens is if you don't make your local up to date with the remote repository, and now you're doing some changes on the local without having the changes that new changes that are present in the remote, and you have made some changes and now you want these changes to be present in the remote, so remote will the git will not allow you to push. Why? Because it will say that you don't have all the changes in the remote, and you're at some other point of the history, you're not up to date with it, so how can you put some other code on top of it? In this case, this restriction is there. Before pushing your code from local to the remote, it should be up to date with the remote. And if you still want that, no, I want to push my changes, even if it's not up to date, then you use the force. And when you use the force flag with it, what it does is whatever changes were not present in your local that were present in remote, that history is overwritten, and those commits will not be there. Now your local commits would be there. So this is like a way around it, but the best thing to do is keep it up to date, because there is a loss of history, commit history there. The best way to do it is build commit history on top of another. I hope that is clear. Okay. How should I start as a beginner in coding? Try to okay, first year. For first year, I would just say it's great. Like personally, I started coding in second year, so it's not too late at all. Don't think like that if you're thinking that. And start with a language. Be thorough with the basic functionality and flow of control of a particular language. It can be C, C++, or Java. And once you are comfortable with a language, you can start solving problems on it. For beginners, I personally like HackerRank, because the problem solving questions on algorithms there, they are good to get started with the implementation. They are in a step-by-step format, like in an increasing difficulty format. So that will give you a good grasp of the changing your logic into the code. Once that is done, definitely you can go to GitHub or Lead Code and get started with DSA. GitHub वेबसाइट पे एड फाइल का ऑप्शन है, तो वहां से कोई कमांड का इस्तेमाल करना, किसी टूल का प्रयोग करना, क्या अंतर बनाता है? Okay, when you do it on the GitHub website, you're doing the change on the remote repository, because GitHub website, if I share the link with you, you will also be able to see it. I will also be able to see it. That is doing the change on the remote repository. But you have to then pull these changes to your local when you want to work on local, because your local until unless you pull these changes, your local repository does not know about it. And on again, the other difference is we prefer working with local, because obviously we cannot do every change on the GitHub website, right? So we prefer developing all the things on local and then pushing these changes to the remote. See, HTML is a JavaScript needed for internship in Amazon. Development as such, in particular, I would not say that HTML, CSS, or JavaScript is needed, but it is great to have some kind of skills so that you can develop some projects and show it in your resume, because having some projects is a must. Work experience, they don't expect from like interns, the students that are there for internship, but at least some projects should be there and you should have some skills. So it can be of web development, app development, anything like that.
Someone is asking about which ID should one use for web development.
Personally, I use VS Code. It's quite good. It has a lot of extensions. You can definitely use VS Code. You can also use Sublime Text, Eclipse, Atom. There are a lot of IDs. VS Code is popularly used.
Can we revert to an old commit which had already been pushed? Yeah, it's obvious.
Yes, we can do it. That requires the reset command. So you can search more about it. It would be difficult to explain the syntax right now, but you can do it.
Ma'am, some people are asking, can you share the PPT because they were not able to write down all the commands.
Okay, sure. So let me know, like maybe we can share it with, like I can share it with Hack Club and they can make the link available for you after the session. Right now,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't think I'll be able to
Yes, ma'am. That
attach
will
a
be
file
good.
somewhere. Okay,
Also, one
sure.
more thing, I recommend everyone to go through the documentations available online so that like you can be very clear with what each and every command is, because reading documentation sometimes really helps. So yeah, do go through them.
Definitely. There are a lot of things, and once you get hands-on with it, this is just an introduction. Once you do your own collaboration, things will become much clearer.
Yeah, and I think most of the doubts had been cleared, and what a great session it had been. Yeah. So Aman sir, we should share the form link.
Yeah, you guys can share the form there. Also, you can start with the particular competition as well.
Okay, I'd also like to say thank you, everyone. This was like an amazing session. I enjoyed interacting with everyone. And if you would like to discuss anything further, you can always contact me. If you have my contact number or even on LinkedIn, anything you can use to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Juhi, I guess you can unmute yourself now.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Now many have been waiting for the game. So here we start. I'll be presenting my screen. You all will be given a riddle, and you have to guess. You have to just. It will be a kind of a riddle of words. You have to guess what it actually is. Here is the question. Uh, just read it once. It is related to our event. You need to find the answer.
In this riddle,
I'll also
we
read
are
it once
talking
for
about
all of you.
something, and
Start
it
conjuring.
is in this riddle. Basically, you have to do
You
a
have to guess the
particular
answer
something.
and post it in a
You have to do an action. You will understand from the riddle only that what you have to exactly do. We will talk about the hints in a while, like in 2 or 3 minutes. And whoever solve this correctly and do the required action, they will be getting the Hotstar subscription for like 1 month.
Okay, so people are commenting here the answers. Just a hint, you don't use Zoom by quite often. So you need to comment this answer on a platform you use quite often. Almost every college student does. So just think about it, which platform it is.
See the complete post, okay, like see the complete riddle, and you have to drop that particular answer in that particular position also. In this riddle, you have to decode two things, actually three things. out of which we can give hint of one, but you will have to decode the other two.
Yeah, a specific. Yeah.
You need not to comment the platform here.
Yeah. You.
Yeah, if you will comment the answer here, then how will we distinguish?
Yeah.
So
So
don't
Just
expect us to give the answers because some people are just randomly messaging. Please give us
yes,
the answer. So please don't do it.
actually no one, even no one from the volunteers, and even other than me and Juhi, no one knows the exact answer of this question.
I mean, I
So
even don't know.
everyone can participate.
Yeah.
Yes, even Aman sir don't know, even Anjali ma'am don't know.
so, and yeah, also I guess you all know the winner will get a giveaway Hotstar
Star
subscription.
subscription.
Yeah. So think.
Okay, we will tell like where we are actually targeting in 1 to 2 minutes. You see, our riddle is divided into 3 parts. Okay, so in first part there is like in first part we are giving the hint that where we are talking about, like the platform and what exactly we mean, where you have to go. In the second part, it is like it is targeting a particular portion. And in the third part, we are targeting a particular like very specific position, and like what is the
You need
keyword
to
that
go
you
to
have to
that
comment.
position.
Yes,
Yeah.
you have to find the platform, then the position, then the like the keyword that you have to put there.
And also, if you win this, but you have not registered at our site,
Therefore, you
then no reward will be given. So make sure you are
yes, you will
registered
have to register
first.
there.
Yeah, make sure you are there for you. A lot of sites are coming.
Actually, what really the answer is, I don't know.
Okay, Julia, I think we can
Okay,
show them like we decode the first part for them, like the first paragraph we can decode for them.
I guess we can tell the site. We can give some more hint about the site, about the social media we are talking about. If they get to know the
Okay,
social media, they will easily decode it.
okay, listen, we are talking about map, and we showed you a particular map. Like in the starting of session,
Yeah,
we have shown you a map. So can you recall it?
yeah.
What map we are talking about?
Presented you a map, and that map was presented from a specific site. Just try to recall it.
Okay, we are getting some correct answers.
Yeah.
Okay, Juhi, actually show them the map.
Okay, sir.
Acha,
I need
you
to
have
open
only
it.
one chance, na? Like you cannot answer multiple times.
Okay, if we
And
show the map, that will be completely decoded, right? We told them that map, uh, like we showed them map
You
once,
guys
na?
need
The
to go to
screen,
the
and where
Instagram page if you want to decode.
everyone knows where the map of Trek the Hill is. It's quite a simple question. And I think if you comment here, nothing. If you comment here, it will be your time waste. Go to that place, guess the answer, and comment in that place we are talking about.
yes,
And if you are the first
not
one who
only you
does,
have to find the platform, you also need to find the exact post, okay? Like and also the exact keyword, and every
and
detail
the
is given in the last paragraph.
and yes, the
If you
important thing,
will like
every
carefully.
person can get a single get only one chance to comment, right?
Attendance link will be given after this game once we announce the giveaway winner. So please wait for
Yeah,
that.
once.
It would take just 2 to 3 minutes.
What to do after we have already given the answer? Wait करो भाई, answer दे तो दिया है. Wait करो.
Wait until we announce the winner. It will hardly take a couple of minutes more.
I guess we will announce the results at 7:50 should be the fine time, if I guess.
Sir, let someone answer, na, then we will announce. I don't think so anyone has answered correctly yet. And we are not giving multiple chance, so we will check some notification also if he has answered that, like in every place or what.
You have to comment the answer, Dilpreet.
You have to comment the answer.
Not
Yes,
here,
the
not here. Now
thing
you
we
have
are
to
trying.
comment here.
Not
You
here.
don't have to comment here.
Go
You have to
answer
comment
that
in a
comment
particular
there.
position. In this riddle, also the particular position is mentioned. Like we are talking about a particular position in our riddle only, and that position will be on our map. Okay, no one has given the right answer yet.
लक्ष्य मेरे को आंसर बता दे क्योंकि मैं देख रहा हूँ इंस्टाग्राम पे आंसर्स.
मेरे को आईडी पासवर्ड दे दो.
अरे तो मेरे को डायरेक्ट मैसेज कर देना जूम पे.
मजा नहीं आएगा.
मेरे को भी जानना है क्या है आंसर. देख थर्ड लास्ट तो मैं समझ गया. लास्ट मेरे को पता है क्या. लास्ट में समझ.
सर आंसर
लास्ट में एक
सर
बार भी
देखो
समझ
मैंने फ्रेम किया तो इतना इजी तो नहीं बनाऊंगा.
Okay, one more hint. Most of the part of answer is located in last 3 to 4 lines. इससे ज़्यादा
Yes,
hint नहीं
in
दे
last
सकता
3 to 4 line we are talking about a particular post as well as the like what the keyword you have to comment.
हाँ, मतलब
We
you can
do one
say the
thing.
main thing वो last 3-4 lines में है. Yeah. Yes sir.
We do one thing. Open our Instagram page and show them the map. The admin about.
Yes.
भाई क्या है आंसर बताओ यार. मेरे को भी एक्साइटमेंट हो रही है. स्क्रीन शेयर्ड है ना जूही, ध्यान से. रिडल नॉट विजिबल. रिडल देखना है यार इनको.
हाँ, वो सर ने बोला ना कि वो
You can copy and paste the riddle in the chat section and then show them the screen. But I guess that would be fine since everyone now knows where they have to locate themselves.
people are reaching to go to the exact data.
Laksh also released the attendance form as well. Laksh, am I audible? I guess it's already 7:50 and we should declare the results if anyone is being close even to the answer. You're not audible, Pramit.
Yeah, the response has been
Please
shared.
audible, sir. Everyone, sir. Okay, so I guess we have got our winner. Yeah, we have got. Is Lakshman sir here or not? He's not here.
Yeah, just let me bring him on stage. I guess he got left out. Yeah, I made him the co-host.
Hello.
Yeah, you are audible now, Lakshman.
Oh, yeah. Then we can
Okay.
declare the result. Done.
Let me see if anyone has.
Yeah, the results are outside this.
Okay. Okay. First of all, Pranav is disqualified because he has commented at
You
many
can
places
see
many times.
now answers have come from some.
I think we need to give some hint to them. Okay.
We have dropped the registration form in the chat. Please
Some more
fill the
people.
form.
Yes,
Okay. Juhi, can you once again present the screen?
the poll.
Everyone fill the form whosoever want the certificates, but make sure that you are also registered on Devfolio. So just fill this form that we have just sent in chat. And yeah, that will be all for today. But before that, just wait for the results of this particular announcement.
Hello. Am I audible now?
Yes, Laksh, you are audible.
Okay. Sorry for this delay. Okay. Juhi, can you once again present the screen, please, and the riddle?
Yes, I'm trying to.
Okay, okay. Actually, it is me who was not able to say. Okay, see, if you see the last paragraph of the riddle, trying to give you some explanation to it. If you see the last paragraph of the riddle, then you see there are
Many
two
people
parts
have
in it.
answered no.
What?
But some people have answered. But some people have answered the question
Some people have
correctly. I mean
answered
to.
the question. Okay, which
Yeah, you
part?
just check
Okay.
once. That's why I said.
See, if you will answer here, then everyone else will also get to view it and go and comment there.
No, in the post. In the post, people have answered. Where we wanted to.
But who has answered?
Just one. One. This one.
And the person
Shrishti
who has
Chauhan.
answered who is okay.
Shrishti Chauhan. First Pranav did, and then Shrishti Chauhan.
Okay, okay. It didn't got refresh actually. No, they haven't answered. Okay. Julie, can you send me the screenshot of answer? Maybe it is not
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
refresh on my side.
Yes, yes. I'm Please check once I've sent you.
Okay, but position is not actually the introduction to GitHub. Okay, one person has given a correct answer in our chat, like what is the correct position, but she has not commented that in the Instagram. Correct is no, introduction to GitHub is not the correct answer. That is not the correct post actually. Okay, let me give you some hint. In our like last paragraph, we have two parts. We dare you to get the day of beginning of the real battle. So I am talking about the real battle on the day on which the real battle for treasure will begin. So well, if you're talking like how can it be the introduction to GitHub? That is where the learning starts. But the real battle is yet to start, right? So you have to go on that particular day on which we are going to start the real battle, and there you have to drop the name of our mentor for today. So I guess many of you have decoded the second part correctly, but the first part is like no one has given the correct answer yet. So that Hosta subscription is still with me. So whoever goes there first and comment the right answer, he or she will definitely get it. Okay, so now we have finally got our correct answer. But Acha, tell me one thing: if that person has done a spelling mistake, so we should consider it right or wrong?
Depends on the level of spelling
Life
mistake.
is unfair.
We consider right now.
Okay. What
इतना
we will
इतना
do,
difficult क्यों कर रहे हो?
Aman sir, share the screen, and because right now I can see only like number of second left, like that now. I want to see what is like according to Instagram who is the first. Okay, so correct position is actually the hackathon day, 12 to 14 March, and right answer is Anjali Patle ma'am, because the real battle is going to begin on 12th of March when the hackathon actually begins, and it is a completely open innovation, so anyone can participate, and that is why the battle is going to be for really tough, but at the same time we have great prizes there. Okay, and as you may know, our major audience is like we are mainly targeting on first year, so you guys actually have very good chance. So I would highly suggest you all to try to build something for that.
I think we have got the winner, right?
We have got the actually we need to see as per Instagram who is the first person who commented there. So Aman
Actually,
sir,
it's
share
not
the screen.
visible and it has already 2 minutes happened. So, I mean,
Sir, but Instagram notification will tell you the correct answer now.
ये तो मैं
Who
Instagram
commented first.
नोटिफिकेशन नहीं देख सकता क्योंकि मैं Instagram खोल के रखा था उस टाइम पे और वो ओके आई
You
गेट
can see, sir, you can see. As per your Instagram, like as per the Instagram updates from the Hack Club site, simply just present your screen and show everyone who is the first person who answered correctly.
Sure. Just let me go to the Instagram page. Okay, it's there. And I guess
Make sure everyone has filled the form. It is necessary for the certificate.
so. Okay, I mean, okay. So the
Okay,
last
so
one is the first one, actually, I guess.
yes, I think. Sir, don't see from here, instead go to notification. That
Go
will
to
tell you more exact
notifications
answer.
section. Yeah, everyone here is seen by 1 minute.
That is a lot ago. Like काफी पीछे कर दिया आपने. Sir,
Oh.
scroll up. We have to see only for last 5 minutes. Okay. So
Okay. Man, we haven't received the updates yet. Just let me refresh once. Wait, it's not giving the update on my laptop.
Try from phone, sir.
I mean, on phone, I have more than like countless ones, man. Seriously.
I think we
There are
should
more
consider the first comment.
Yeah, the last one is actually the
Okay.
first
Yeah.
comment, as according to what I can see on PC. So basically, this guy
That Priyanshu.
Priyanshu 2602.
Yeah.
Can you
Are you
drop your
present here?
contact number in the chat, Zoom chat?
Priyanshu is the winner for today. And before we conclude, I would like to tell you one thing, that today we are giving a subscription for Hotstar, but in our next workshop, it will be based on Postman, and it is said by the themselves, the Postman workshop, what we say, speaker, that on their day they will give a giveaway of 5 t-shirts, and it will be completely on them how they are going to do it. So the stakes are gonna be higher then. So better luck next time for everyone else.
So this was all for today, and thank you for joining us for this particular event. And it was great to see you all over here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate your patience.
Also,
And we
fill
hope
up
you
this form
learned a lot.
that we sent
Yeah.
here, or just copy it on your link so that in case we close this particular meeting, you don't lose the form. Just fill the form at the soonest.
And from here, we have concluded today's workshop. Thank you, everyone.